She does seem so surprised she's not 50 points ahead in the polls. Yes, well, Donald Trump says she does have a lot of unfavorability problems, including an unfavorability rating of 52%, according to the latest Wall Street Journal NBC News poll. My amazing party panel is going to go over some numbers with me now. It's Jillian Turner, Fox News contributor and former White House Security Council staffer in 2 administrations. Michael Malice is here. He's an author, columnist at The Observer, and he's written a great book about North Korea we'll talk about later. And also tonight, Reason Magazine editor at large, my friend Matt Welch. Welcome, everybody.
Hi.
Hi. So Hillary Clinton is surprised she's not 50 points ahead of Donald Trump in the polls. Why do you think she's not ahead of Donald Trump?
She has
by a much greater margin.
She's blown double-digit leads in every single election that she's ever run. She was ahead of Bernie Sanders, who's a socialist, by 50 points at some point. She was ahead of Rick Lazio, remember that back in the day, by 40 points, I think it was back then. She always blows leads. She was ahead of Donald Trump by 10 percentage points 2 or 3 months back.
She got a huge post-convention bump. He gave her quite a gift with several gaffes after both conventions in late July.
So she's a lousy candidate, and we've seen this election through the support both for Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump among each respective party, that at this point you could nominate anyone if they're a Democrat. You could nominate Michael Malice as a Democrat, and as long as he said, I'm a Democrat, somehow 85% of people would vote for Michael Malice. And the same thing in the Republican Party. There is no limitations for so many people who still think tribalistically, we've got to go for our team because the damn Supreme Court would.
Yeah, but fewer people are going for the tribes.
Exactly.
And we've seen that in this election, and you've talked about it a lot. You wrote an entire book about it, Declaration of Independence with Nick Gillespie. But so I say that people just don't like her. Part of the reason they don't like her is all she's trying to do is consolidate power for her, not actually make people's lives better. But you make the argument that it's her secrecy that is so off-putting.
Well, there's a couple of things. First of all, when she first got into Washington, she ran her healthcare office under an air of secrecy. All the meetings were in secret. Everything was kept quiet. And she's not capable of learning from her mistakes. But another big reason people don't like her specifically is her sense of entitlement. In 2000, when she, as First Lady in unelected office, ran against Rick Lazio, her campaign put forward the message that there's a stature gap between Rick Lazio and Hillary Clinton. This is her words.
Wow.
Meaning it's beneath her to run against the sitting congressman for the Senate seat. So that air of entitlement is what comes through, whereas Trump, who was born to wealth, is clearly working hard for every vote. He's campaigning 24/7 like a crazy person that he is, and that really reads where she's canceling events and she thinks that her victory is her due.
Yeah, no, he certainly is the more relatable of the 2 candidates, but also she makes the mistake. You talk about that entitlement, and that's to me what the basket of deplorables thing speaks to. I mean, that's what it boils down to, the sense of entitlement. You are beneath me, you don't like me, therefore you are wrong and bad. Now, what Hillary's trying to do, and she doesn't have a lot of time to do it, and this is another way that she is so off base. She can't connect with younger voters. She can't connect with independents. So she's trying to reintroduce herself again. Instead of reaching out to them, she's saying, hey, look at me. How many times does she have to do that?
Yeah, well, because that point you just hit on is key. So we've had these national polls going haywire. We've had swing states that have kind of are now not where we thought they were going to be. And you said yesterday that this pendulum can still go back and forth a few times before November, which I think is right. But the one thing that's maintained consistency throughout this whole election cycle is her weakness with millennials and Donald Trump's weakness with college-educated white males, and those prevail. Those prevail in the swing states today, as the polls read. That prevails at the national level. I think they should both be focusing there.
Yeah.
You know, forget for Donald Trump, they've both been very focused on African-American votes the last few days. I think they should be honing in on their weaknesses.
All right, well, a new national poll actually shows Hillary Clinton has a pretty good lead over Donald Trump. If you take this one, take a look. According to the Wall Street Journal NBC News poll, Clinton is up 6 points, 43-37. Gary Johnson and Jill Stein trailing. Gary's at 9%. That's not horrible. But just yesterday, we talked about 3 states that showed Donald Trump in the lead, those key swing states of North Carolina, Ohio, and Nevada, according to the Fox News poll. So we really have a tale of 2 polls here. What should the candidates be looking at? What should we be looking at when we're talking about these
It's
things?
more of a tale of 12 polls. There are about 12 decent, reputable companies out there doing stuff. So what you want to do is find the apples-to-apples comparison. This NBC Wall Street Journal poll, they're one of the big 5, by the way, that the Commission on Presidential Debates chooses or averages out to figure out who gets in the debates and who who doesn't.
Yeah.
That was the first time they took a poll in 7 weeks. So yes, Clinton has a 6-point lead, but the last one they did, she had a 9-point lead 7 weeks ago. So it's actually tightening according to their thing. And Jill Stein, and this is true throughout the other dozen polls, she's losing support right now. There is a left of center freakout that Hillary might lose. And that's kind of bad news for Hillary, because if you think about it, she's had a really bad last month, 3-4 weeks. Donald Trump is really close. It's almost neck and neck at this point. Hillary has benefited from losing a percentage point of Jill Stein's support, down from about 4 to 3 or 3.5 to 2.5.
Yeah.
So, like, they're already going. She's got to go to the millennials who are going libertarian, and she has nothing to say to them because she doesn't even understand what language they
All
speak.
right, so let's talk about some groups that the candidates are doing poorly with. Right now, Hillary Clinton is beating Donald Trump by about 80% with African Americans.
Right.
Should Donald Trump still be focusing in urban communities? Do you think that's a waste of time?
No, it's a great idea on his behalf, because when he shows up in front of black audiences, those white audiences who are scared of voting for someone who's called a racist every day feel better about themselves because they say, look, he's not a racist, he's talking to black people. But these national polls are a little bit secondary. If you look at the Electoral College, there's only a very few states that Trump has to flip to have any chance of winning. If he gets Nevada, Ohio, and Florida, and North Carolina, he's still going to come short because she's almost definitely got Virginia. So he's going to have to flip something like Colorado or Pennsylvania or Wisconsin or Michigan, which are all reaches for him. And if he can't flip any one of those, he's screwed.
It is a reach, but Pennsylvania, he's cut her lead in half from 10 to 5 just in 3 weeks. And Colorado, you know, that was a solidly Democratic state. And now there are a lot of toss-up states. I mean, there are about a dozen states that are either slightly leaning one way or the other or are total toss-ups. Last word.
Well, I think if the debates kind of go as we all think they do, there's going to be a really heavy national security, U.S. foreign policy contingent to them. And I think actually the big thing here, she just has to do what she does. She's pretty good at debating. She has to just be consistent. She's got to have her A game that day. But he has a big leap to make here. And
all right, well, coming up, both major party nominees now reacting to the rioting and violence in Charlotte after the deadly police shooting of a black man. We're going to talk about that a little later. We're going to talk about Ron Paul. We're going to talk to Ron Paul, in fact, about the libertarian ideas the world is going to miss out on because Gary Johnson will not be debating with Hillary and Donald. It's all coming up. Stay right here. The violence in Charlotte, North Carolina, over the police shooting death of a black man has now become the latest big issue on the campaign trail. As you may have seen, police and rioters began battling on the streets Tuesday night. It started after cops shot a guy who may or may not have been armed, depending on whose report you believe. Hillary Clinton quickly linked it and other deadly police shootings, including the one in Oklahoma.
We have 2 more names to add to a list of African Americans killed by police officers in these encounters. It's unbearable, and it needs to become intolerable.
All right, when asked how to stop violence in the black community, Trump told a Fox News town hall that airs later tonight that he supports the controversial police tactic of stop and frisk.
I would do stop and frisk. I think you have to. We did it in New York. It worked incredibly well. And you have to be proactive.
All right, Trump this morning clarified his stance on Fox and Friends, saying he was, quote, really referring to Chicago with stop and frisk. But the point is still very much the same. The party panel is back. Jillian, Michael, and Matt. So I'm going to start with you. Stop and frisk, because a lot of libertarians have an issue with this policy. And even Mayor Bloomberg said, hey, you know what? I was wrong when I disagreed with that judge who in 2013 said that it violates the Fourth Amendment to stop and frisk people.
Stop and frisk is an anti-gun measure at heart. And Donald Trump in his comments yesterday reiterated that. His point of stop and frisk is we got to get the guns out of their hands. Carrying guns is a constitutional right in this country. You actually, in the case of New York, I think 1 out of every 500 or 1 out of every 1,000, some very small number of the people who were stopped and frisked had guns. And of course, New York has much more restrictive gun rights than, say, North Carolina or some other places, too. Bill Bratton, who initiated this thing, said at some point, stop and frisk, we started creating diminishing returns in New York. Like when you first went into neighborhoods that had high crime areas and started giving them a lot of police, you arrested a lot of people who needed arresting. And then after that, it became harassment.
The murder rate went down without stop and frisk too, which was a big key for New York City.
Here's a correlation. Yeah, stop and frisk ended, and some of the violent crime and murder did go down in New York City.
But I would just point out here that the president is not the president of local city police departments. This shows an appalling lack of kind of federalism.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that's something that I want to talk about, and I talked about it on Outnumbered today, because both Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump are saying that we have to have a set of national standards to impose on local police forces. I think that's dangerous because of the clear connection between, you know, national police standards and militarization, which is what people are supposedly protesting right now.
Yeah, it's absolutely absurd and unconstitutional. I didn't leave the Soviet Union to have a police state imposed here. You know, the conservatives like to say that they're for the Constitution, but as soon as the Fourth Amendment comes up, they look the other way, just like liberals with the Second Amendment.
Yeah.
But the thing is, that's what they're trying to do is they both are trying to say that once I'm president, things like Charlotte won't be happening. And in the minds of most Americans, they don't believe Hillary Clinton. Something similar happened in Ferguson right before the 2014 elections, and the Republicans had the biggest share of the House of Representatives since 1928, I believe.
Yeah.
So this is totally going to play into Donald Trump's hands, and this is why in '92 Bill Clinton came out against Sister Souljah, and he had that whole social conservative thing, because this is something the left is weak on, and Hillary Clinton is not playing to that weakness.
I just don't think we live in that world,
we're running out of time, Jillian. I want to get you in.
I just want to, I think what I would point out is that their responses to Tulsa and then Charlotte kind of being as divergent as they were highlighted something that I'd kind of been feeling for a while, which is that I think her approach is to treat this at the national level.
Yeah.
She identifies sort of nationwide underlying causes, and she wants to go after that. For her, that's systemic racism or whatever you want to call it. For him, it's more of a sort of treat the symptoms approach. And that
And do you think neither one
perfectly
works?
highlighted. I think that there has to be a mixture. I don't think it's one or the other. I don't think that a national policy in and of itself for police training is going to solve this, and I don't think that stop and frisk.
No, and for her, you know, frankly, I think it's about control, and I think Michael's absolutely right, because you're that much closer to living in a police state, and that is not acceptable, no matter what the tone or tenor is in the national conversation or because of events that are unfolding. All right, Monday's debate. It's shaping up to be an epic battle between Hillary and the Donald. The party panel returns to discuss what exactly will go down. A moment ago, we heard from Dr. Ron Paul about the issues libertarians want to hear on Monday night's debate. What about everyone else? I hit the streets of New York City to find out. If you could ask either of the presidential candidates one thing during the debate, what would it be?
I'd ask Trump to drop out. I want to know what Hillary's hiding. I wish she would come out with it already.
As far as her emails or her health?
Everything. I want to know it all.
What kind of underwear are you wearing, maybe?
Usually briefs.
How long would it take to build the wall?
What would I ask Hillary? How she can put up with this campaign?
Secretary Clinton, do you want to respond?
No.
Karl Rove, if you could ask either of the candidates something on the debate stage, what would you ask?
I'd ask him, where's my car? Because I'm running late.
Dude, where's my car? From Karl Rove. Do you think third-party candidates should be allowed in the debate?
No.
Why?
I have no idea.
Oh, I see how it is. The old no, I have no idea. Should they let Gary Johnson in the debate?
Why not?
That's right. Why not, man?
They don't get 15%, they don't get on
You think that's fair?
Very.
What's a libertarian?
A libertarian is fiscally conservative and social liberal.
It's actually fiscally conservative and socially awkward.
What is Aleppo?
Do you think that Donald Trump had more fun at prom or Hillary Clinton? Who had more fun at prom? Who had more fun at prom? More fun at prom. Who do you think had more fun?
The Donald.
Who do you think had more fun at prom, Hillary or Donald?
Hillary, of course.
Who had more fun on prom night, Hillary or Donald?
How do I know? I wasn't with any one of them. I didn't have a prom date.
What advice would you give Hillary or Donald before the debate?
Hillary, I'd get a health exam quick so she doesn't collapse. Donald Trump, really simple. I tell Donald Trump, she's going to try and aggravate, agitate, irritate.
He's probably right. What do you think? Is he right or wrong? Tell me.
It's Kennedy. This is the real Kennedy, the Kennedy Show on the Kennedy Fox Business Network, on the Kennedy Network.
Well, now we know what Sean Hannity thinks. He's a great American. Let's check back in with the party panel. Jillian Turner, Michael Malice, and Matt Welch. Victory goes to whom?
I think Donald Trump will get the victory while the press will declare the victory for Hillary Clinton. That's my prediction.
How do you win a debate here?
By having better one-liners and being faster on her feet, and that means she's going to get her ass kicked.
Really? You don't think she can be fast?
She's going to come in with quick jokes and her smirk, and he's going to knock him down, and then she's not going to have anything to respond with.
All right, so he's trying to get in her head right now. You know, he's saying, oh, she's got too much time to prep for the debate. And, you know, I think he's got her overthinking it a little.
She's prepping every single day.
Yeah.
I find that crazy.
Is that a good idea? Is it a bad strategy for her?
For her, I think it's probably good for her in the sense that she seems to do better the more time she has to like kind of massage through things, as evidenced by her response in the aftermath of the Chelsea attacks earlier this week. Yeah. You know, the first go round was not so good. The second one, much better. So I think it's probably wise for her. I think what he has to do is focus on national security, present a plan to combat ISIS. I was saying to you guys in the break, I think that's a home run for him. Yeah. And he can do it so easily. And people will then feel like they've been given some substance.
If he does it, if he has command of issues, if he changes the game, independence just might perk up. Speaking of a very independent state, North Korea. It is called the Hermit Kingdom, and for good reason. Yesterday, someone in the tight-fisted regime slipped up on a web server, revealing to the world just how many websites the nation has. The answer is 28. So, Michael Malice, you have actually spent a good deal of time in North Korea.
I have.
What do you make of this story?
Well, first of all, I mean, we all like to laugh about it, but realize that the person who let this website be exposed to the world probably might have been sent to the concentration camp along with his family.
That's horrible.
Because you have to be very high up to even be allowed internet access in that country, and if you made North Korea an international laughingstock, you're going to be the one paying the consequences. That's number one. Number two is, this is a good thing that they have 28 internet websites. First of all, almost no one in the country has electricity, but the fact that they're realizing that they have to engage with the rest of the world is how this despicable house of cards starts to fall down. Yeah. Because once people in the country, it's one thing to be like, we don't know anything about what's going on, but once you start to realize, wait a minute, they have food in China, they have clothes in South Korea, why are we living like this? Yeah. Very, very slowly, even at the top, that's where the faith in the regime falls, and hopefully, you know, North Korea, which is the worst place on earth, will fall soon as well.
All right, well, they did have one website called Friend. I mean, that's nice.
Is that
presumably a social network?
That's not even a joke, right?
That's not a joke at all. No.
I thought that was a joke. It's horrifying. When I went to Cuba for the first time in 1998, the thing that struck was the complete stranglehold on information. The way that human beings starve when they don't have information, especially in a port city like Havana. Yeah. It is so unnatural. It is heartbreaking and awful. So yeah, it's funny this much, but for the most part, it's just a nightmare world.
All right. So, Jillian, would you go to North Korea with Michael?
I would like to go. If you have a way in,
I do. Everyone can go. It's legal.
You know, it's a horror show. It's right. I mean, it's easy to laugh at this because these websites are completely ridiculous. Yeah. But I mean, the reality is that they have like 25 million people in that country, and a handful thousand have internet access.
Thanks for bringing it down, Michael Malice.
The government loves to talk about.
It's going to be like a fun, light segment, but now it's like everyone's done.
But they love to talk about free internet access to those 28 websites. P.S. A computer, if you want to own one, costs like half your annual salary.
Oh, so it's much more than your annual salary. You can't afford
more. I mean,
nope, it's much more death and dying than we ever thought possible. Yes. Matt Welch, Michael Malice, Jillian Turner, thank you all so much for being here. Killed my buzz, man.
Sorry, man.
It's cool. I'll get it back.